After 35 unforgettable years, it's the end of an era. TNT's Inside the NBA has aired its final episode, and for millions of basketball fans around the world, this isn't just a programming change, it's a goodbye to a cultural institution. For over 3 decades, Inside the NBA didn't just cover basketball, it defined how we experienced the sport. From post-game breakdowns to off-the-rails antics, the show delivered a unique blend of analysis, comedy, and chaos that no other sports broadcast ever quite matched. The story of Inside the NBA begins in 1989. At first, it was a fairly straightforward post-game show, just highlights, scores, and basic analysis, but everything changed in the early 1990s when Ernie Johnson became the full-time host. Calm, composed, and always professional, Ernie brought stability to a show that was about to get very unpredictable. In 1998, former NBA champion Kenny "The Jet" Smith joined the desk, bringing sharp insight and quick wit. But the real transformation happened in 2000 when Charles Barkley, already a legend on the court and in the press, joined the cast. Suddenly, the show wasn't just informative, it was unfiltered. Barkley's loud opinions, refusal to hold back, and sheer unpredictability helped take the show to another level. Whether he was talking trash about a team's defense or getting into playful arguments with Kenny and Ernie, Barkley became must-see TV. And then, in 2011, TNT made the wildest move of all. They brought in Shaquille O'Neal. That's right, one of the most dominant players in NBA history joined the desk, and things got even crazier. Shaq's physical comedy, deep voice, and fearless attitude toward embarrassing himself made him a perfect fit. From that point on, Inside the NBA wasn't just a sports show, it was an event. Who could forget the time Charles Barkley promised to kiss Kenny's rear end if Yao Ming scored 19 points in a game, only for Yao to hit 20? The resulting moment, with Kenny rolling a donkey onto the set and Charles planting a kiss on its behind, became one of the show's most iconic bits. And that was just the beginning. Every year, Inside the NBA gave us new classics, Shaq racing Kenny to the video board and wiping out on live TV, the crew trying to pronounce international players' names and failing miserably, Charles getting roasted for everything from his golf swing to his wardrobe. There were inside jokes, viral challenges, and even puppet versions of the hosts. It was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos. What made it all work was the chemistry. Ernie Johnson was the calm center of the storm, always keeping the conversation moving, but never afraid to laugh or push back. Kenny Smith brought perspective and logic. He was the one actually trying to talk basketball. Shaq was the jester, the enforcer, and occasionally the instigator. And Charles? He was the unpredictable wild card who might say anything at any moment. This chemistry wasn't scripted, it wasn't corporate, it was real. That authenticity is what fans loved the most. You weren't just watching TV personalities, you were hanging out with 4 friends who genuinely liked each other, even if they clowned on each other every second of the way. Of course, the basketball insight was still sharp. Kenny often broke down plays with precision. Shaq gave a big man's perspective that few analysts could match. And Barkley, well, he knew what he was talking about even if he couldn't stop roasting the big old women in San Antonio. But the show wasn't afraid to get serious either. When major moments rocked the NBA, like the Donald Sterling scandal, the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, or the social justice protests of 2020, the Inside the NBA crew handled them with a level of grace and empathy that was deeply respected. One of the show's most powerful moments came in their tribute to Craig Sager, the legendary sideline reporter known for his bold suits and even bolder heart. After his passing in 2016, the crew honored him with deep emotion, remembering not just a colleague, but a friend. Ernie, Shaq, Kenny, and Chuck spoke from the heart, and viewers around the world felt the weight of that loss. It wasn't just about basketball, it was about the people behind it. Ernie, who has endured his own personal battles including cancer and the loss of his son, always spoke from the heart. And Charles, behind the jokes and hot takes, often provided powerful perspective on the world beyond basketball. Fast forward to the 2020s, and Inside the NBA was still delivering gold. In the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals, during a particularly tense moment between the Knicks and Pacers, Shaq lifted a TNT crew member known as Underdog over his head on live TV, just because. The fans loved it. Even more hilarity followed during halftime of Game 1, when Shaq couldn't resist dancing to Mary J. Blige's Family Affair. The entire crew burst out laughing, and so did millions of viewers. Then there was Charles Barkley's now infamous hot mic incident, dropping a full-on F-bomb while giving his opinion on Pascal Siakam. The audio wasn't supposed to go live, but when it did, the clip went viral instantly. It was classic Charles, raw, unfiltered, and absolutely unforgettable. And who could forget Shaq's olive oil cleanse fiasco? During a commercial break, Shaq suddenly disappeared. When the show returned, Ernie explained with a smile that Shaq had a bathroom emergency. Later, Shaq admitted to trying a viral olive oil detox and failing. The crew's relentless teasing turned the situation into comedy gold. Only on Inside the NBA could a stomach emergency become one of the most talked about moments of the playoffs. As the 2024-25 season wrapped up, rumors started swirling. Warner Bros. Discovery's rights deal with the NBA was expiring. ESPN and Amazon were circling. The question everyone asked was simple: what happens to Inside the NBA? The answer came in the summer of 2025. TNT would no longer be airing NBA games. That meant the show, at least in its current form, was done. But thankfully, ESPN stepped in. According to reports, ESPN struck a deal to retain the iconic crew and produce a similar show out of Atlanta. It won't be exactly the same, but it's a new chapter for a show that changed the game. Still, saying goodbye to Inside the NBA on TNT is emotional for fans. For over 3 decades, it was more than just post-game coverage. It was part of the ritual. Watch the game. Stay for Ernie, Kenny, Shaq, and Chuck. Laugh, learn, get mad, laugh again. In a sports world increasingly dominated by slick productions, hot takes, and overproduced segments, Inside the NBA stood out because it didn't try to be perfect. It embraced the chaos. It was real, it was raw, and it was ridiculously entertaining. That's what made it magic. There's something special about watching grown men argue over candy bars, bet push-ups on live TV, or roast each other over missed jump shots from 20 years ago. And yet, those goofy moments sat side by side with powerful commentary, heartfelt tributes, and some of the sharpest basketball breakdowns on television. You never quite knew what you were going to get when you tuned in. Would Shaq wear a wig and pretend to be Charles? Would Kenny storm off the set in protest of bad takes? Would Barkley say something that required a full commercial break to recover from? Probably all three, and that unpredictability was the secret sauce. And now, the curtain falls. For Ernie Johnson, the heart and soul of the show, this is a moment of reflection. He once said, "We're not in the entertainment business. We're in the encouragement business." And for 35 years, Inside the NBA has encouraged fans to love the game, to laugh at life, and to find joy in community, even if that community involved clowns like Chuck and Shaq. So what's next? ESPN may carry the torch. The crew may remain. But Inside the NBA on TNT was lightning in a bottle, a once-in-a-generation sports show that will never be replicated. It didn't just reflect basketball culture, it shaped it, and the industry noticed. Inside the NBA won multiple Sports Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Studio Show and accolades for individual talent. But for the crew, it was never about trophies. It was about connecting with fans night after night. As we say goodbye, we don't just remember the laughs, we remember the love. The love these men had for the game, for each other, and for the fans who tuned in night after night. From all of us watching at home, thank you, Inside the NBA. Thank you for the chaos. Thank you for the truth. Thank you for the memories. Goodbye, TNT, and long live the legends.